So, welcome. We are live. Now, today I've got Steve Razell. He is an international psychic medium and tarot reader. Now, he works online, connecting with people all over the world and in his native UK. He was born a natural psychic medium and from a young age became aware of the spirit world. After many experiences involving the spirit world he had as a child and young adult, he then decided to join a psychic development group and then joined the College of Psychic Studies in London. He's built a very good reputation over the past few years and has clients all over the world, ranging from Europe, USA, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and over the Middle East. He shares with us his story and how he uses his gifts to help others connect with their loved ones who have passed to the spirit world. He tells us how he helps guide people through difficult times in their lives and helping them achieve their goals. So, welcome, Steve.
Thank you very much, Karen.
Well, first of all, would you like to share with the listeners a little bit more about your backstory? You know, when did you actually realise that you could connect with the spirit world?
Well, I actually come from my mother's side, actually quite a spiritual family. It was always something that was discussed in the house. My dad's side of the family, not as much. My mum's side was much more interested. From my grandparent, my grandmother, all the way back to my great-grandparents, who I actually did know. They were very into it. And from a child, I was always extremely sensitive and very, very, some clairsentient. I would sense things, I would see things. I'm clairvoyant as well, so I do see. And from a young age, I was just aware of energies. Energies is what really, how I connect. Most mediums are the same. You don't necessarily see the spirit, you normally feel them and hear them, or you can see them. I mean, there have been occasions throughout my life where I have physically seen spirit worlds, and that worked all its way through into my development as well as a medium. When I went to my first spiritualist development circle into the college, it's something that happens. Not as happens as often as it used to, but it does occasionally. And really, from a very young age, I was always aware that I was a bit different from other kids. I never really understood what it was as such. I was always extremely, when I went around people's houses, other kids' houses where there was problems in the house, I'd always be very sensitive, always really understand. There's always a different side to me that I never really quite picked up on. But I mean, as I got older and then I went to a medium, my mum sent me to another medium that she actually knew herself, who told me that I was naturally born as a medium. And it really grew on from there. And I joined her spiritualist circle back in 2013, so a long time ago now. And since then, I've been growing since then, really. And in last year, I became professional. And before that, joined the College of Psychic Studies, and it really boosted my confidence in becoming a medium.
Now, do you believe that everybody has, you know, if you call it the gift, or like you say, you naturally born that way? Do you think that everybody, we all as human beings have the ability, we just don't know how to connect to it?
Certainly, and I do mention that quite a lot to people that ask me that. I mean, I do get asked that quite often. We're all born with we'll call it sixth sense. We're all born with sensitivity. We're all born to connect to the other side. It's just learning how to do it. It's no different than learning how to ride a bike. No different than learning how to play the piano. You know, everyone can do that. Everyone can learn to do so. Not everyone's going to take up that professionally or really put their effort in. Because one thing with mediumship is you have to put the effort in. Anything mediumship, anything to do with tarot, psychic, you always have to put the effort in. It takes years and years of experience to really become professional. Really to build that confidence. I mean, it's all about confidence and understanding and trust in mediumship, trusting what you're being given from your guides and everything like that. Everybody can learn to do it, certainly. But it's just about how much effort you put into it. Some people are more natural than others. Some people are more born that way. I mean, we're all born with our own gifts. Everyone's born individually. You know, we all have our own soul. We all have our own soul's purpose. It's not for everybody. It's not for everyone's, you know, not everyone believes in it. Not everyone, it's just not for everyone. Religion's not for everybody. Spiritualism isn't for everybody. You know, it's all, but we are. I mean, I certainly would agree there. We're all born with the ability to do so.
So just like anything in life, you still have to practice your skill.
You do.
Yeah.
You have to practice all the time. You have to, I mean, trial and error is what I always tell everybody with mediumship and anything to do with developing your psychic ability. Mediumship takes a long time to actually build. Mediumship takes a long time to actually understand what you're being shown, because you get shown images in your mind, you get certain feelings. things as well get played back to you in your mind as what you've experienced through your life. That's actually, it's quite hard to explain, but I mean, how you connect with the spirit world. I mean, it's like having a daydream basically, but that daydream is more real. When you have somebody that comes through and you're connecting with someone, someone's loved one comes in, you get a sense of who they are. You feel like you're becoming that person, because I work with the spirit within my aura. There's two different types of mediumship: mental mediumship and physical mediumship. I work between the both of them. They're two very separate things. Mental mediumship is more to do with spirit communicating through your mind. Physical mediumship is more to do more in the sense of trance work, but trance work is a bit different to what I do. But I mean, I work between the two. So I work the spirit very much within my aura, very much they become part of me. I really get a sense of who they are through that way.
Wow.
Every medium works very differently.
And what exactly do you see, feel, and hear when you are working with the spirit world?
It's very hard to explain. I mean, it's very, very fast. I mean, I'll see faces, I'll see images in my mind. Say if somebody would have been a nurse, I bring in somebody's mother, for example, that would have been a nurse in their lifetime. I may see a Red Cross, or I may see a nurse's uniform, and you see things very fast. It's like images being played in your mind. You get a fit. I mean, it's like, because I'm clairsentient, so I sense, I see, sense, and hear, but the main way I work is clairsentience, and I get a sense of who I've got with me. So I work with them within my aura, I work them within my auric field, how I feel. I mean, it's like when you meet someone for the first time, you get a sense of who they are. It's very, very similar. I'll explain it the best way I can, but they're within my aura. I get a sense of who they are, what they've come for. You just have to trust it. I mean, it's very fast, because spirit work in a very fast frequency. The spirit world is in a very, very fast dimension compared to ours. There's no time in spirit world. You know, time is a man-made thing. And I mean, a day to us is a year to them. It works very, very fast. And when someone passes, I mean, they go into reflection for a period of time, and it can take a long time for them to decide to come through whether they want to or not, whenever you go to a medium. It's a bit off the subject, but I mean, it's a very, very, it's very hard to explain, but it's very sort of, it's energetic. It's like a tingly feeling you get. Images you see, I mean, it's all very, very different. Every spirit is very different in how they choose to connect. I mean, you have to go with the flow. I mean, it's all to do with their personality, how they were in life. I mean, mainly it's down to a sense, you get over your sense of feeling that you feel within you, how I connect. I mean, if someone passes, for example, from a heart attack, you may get a real strong sense of compression on your chest. If someone was in an accident, for example, you can feel the sense of being trapped or crushed. So if someone was in a car crash, for example, that's how they would have passed. A younger man, younger lady, you may feel that they're a younger personality. You may see a younger person within your mind, and you will feel throughout your body, you'll feel how they would have passed. I mean, it's all very, very different. Every spirit connection works very differently.
But it sounds like it's down to also you to interpret it, which that could be wrong. So it's not.
It can be, yes, exactly.
It's not that you've got to make. It's like a puzzle. It sounds like you've got to figure it out what they mean, and then pass it on. So even that could be wrong, because they could have shown you things, or you've sensed things. You've still got to translate that.
Translate that. And names, one thing I get often, I do get people's names, and it's very hard to actually get people. Things of mediumship, names are very important. I always try and get the names. You don't always get them right necessarily, but when you do get them right, I mean, it's like seeing someone's name written in your mind. I mean, it's all, I mean, as you say, it's like piecing a puzzle together. It's very, very difficult to actually do. I mean, the thing with mediumship as well, a lot of people give up because they don't trust in themselves. I mean, not every reading goes well. Not every reading goes how you would expect it to go. It depends a lot on the client as well. Sometimes people can be full of grief, and that can be very, very difficult to work with. I mean, you've got to come to a meeting, be very, very open, and be very, very accepting about who's going to come through, because you may not hear from the person you expect to hear from. You may get something completely different you never expected to come through. I mean, they come through when they're ready. And piecing that together, I mean, I have no explanation. I can't always explain why certain people come through. I mean, you try and give the messages, you try and give as much evidence of who they are. And it is, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. I mean, it could be anyone. I mean, you may get multiple people in one reading. I mean, half an hour reading, I give 1 hour, half an hour and 20-minute readings. to people all over the world. Within 20 minutes, you can give, in 20 minutes of a reading, you can give like evidence of 10 people that they would have known. Or sometimes you may only get one person. You may only get one person for an hour's reading. It's all very, very different.
Right. I mean, it fascinates me. I've never actually been to. I've never been to a medium, but the whole thing is, I don't know. It's just, it's a lot of, sounds like a lot of big responsibility.
It is.
Because
there is a lot of responsibility that comes with mediumship, because you have to present. I mean, for example, if you have someone that comes through, you have a grieving mother in front of you, and you bring in their son who sadly passed away in a suicide. I always prefer the term crossing themselves over, because I find it much more gentler to use that term. You have to present that in the nicest way. You have to try and not bring up all the trauma that they've been through. I mean, many people come to me with trauma, that have witnessed horrible things throughout their lives, and people come through that have not been nice to them. People come through that have, taken themselves away, crossed themselves over from suicide, one thing another. I mean, there may be some that come through, had a wonderful life, and it's much more pleasant experience when they've had that experience with someone they've loved very, very dearly, who's passed, their grandmother, their mother, their brother, their sister, for example, and they had a wonderful time together, and they passed natural causes. I mean, it's much more of a loving kind of experience than when somebody passes. Not saying it's not unloving when somebody passes in a tragic way, but you have to be very careful how you present mediumship. It's all about deliverance. It's all about how you bring it forward, how you explain who you've got, and try and make it as untraumatizing as it can be, because it can be very traumatizing for people that have lost people in that way.
Is there anything that comes through? Because I would always think that if anything from spirit only the messages could only be positive, because surely in that realm it's unconditional love.
It is unconditional love.
Never any negative thing that can be passed on.
I mean, there are, the thing is, I work the light. I mean, there is the dark. People choose to work with the dark side of things. I mean, I'm not like that at all. Unconditional love is spirit. Spirit is unconditional love. And the thing is, people do come through to apologize. I've had loads of that. I mean, loads of experiences where there have been people that have come to me who've had parents that have been abusive, grandparents, brothers, sisters, friends, whatever, that have been abusive, and they come through unconditionally with love, and they apologize for what they've done. And I know it's not the easiest thing to forgive someone after that kind of experience that you've had with them in life, but I mean,
you have to.
Truth is, they have that time to reflect on their lives. They have that time to reflect on what they were like, what they did, everything like that. When you pass to spirit, you have all that time. There's no time in spirit, as I say. I mean, the best time to wait for someone to go and see a medium, it varies. I mean, I've had people come through actually recently, young people, old people, that have passed within the past 2 weeks, and they've come through very strong. I mean, it depends on their soul. It depends on how long they've been passed, if they're able to process what sort of life they've kind of had, and the relationship they had with you. It can take a while, but the best time to wait is about a year. But unconditional love is what spirit is. Unconditional love is what they have that. When people pass, people pass the spirit world out of their physical body, they get a lot of help. I mean, depends again on what sort of life they lived. If they lived a very troubled life, then they get the help they needed. And I had that recently with a couple of days ago. I had a mother whose, unfortunately, son did pass in a suicide, and he came through, and I mean, he had a really troubled life. It was terrible, the sort of life he had. But I mean, you should have seen this lady at the end. She was so relieved that I brought this guy in. All she wanted to hear from was him, this young man, her son. He was so clean of any anger, any upset, anything that he had experienced on this side of life was gone. He'd had all the help that he needed, and that's what she really needed to hear. And at the end of it, I mean, she was so relieved that she'd got that message. She was so relieved with the way that I'd described him and what sort of life he'd had. And unfortunately, he did take his own life, and it's the worst parents' worst nightmare. You couldn't. It's just you can't even explain it. But I mean, mediumship has that ability to give you that lease of life, to give you that sense of hope, and that's what a lot of it is about. It's not about the medium. It's about the connection with the spirit and connection with the client. I mean, I love what I do. I would never change it for the world. And what I love about my job, I mean, I'm a very humble medium. That's how I work. I always make sure that nothing goes to my head, no readings go to my head, anything like that. It all stays between the client and the spirit world. I mean, I'm very thankful for being given this opportunity to use this, or to have this gift and to use it to what I want to do with it and to get some understanding of it. But I mean, the most important thing with mediumship is about the work that you do. It's not about the medium, it's about the client and the spirit world. And it's having that connection between the two, giving someone that hope, giving someone that, I mean, bad things that are said. I mean, we all say bad things to each other. No one's perfect, myself included. We all regret things that we do and say, and we think that that's the end of it. When someone passes over, that's the end of it, you know, but it's not. And having that faith, having that connection with someone that you loved for a medium, I mean, it's priceless. There's no money that can buy that. I mean, it's the most wonderful thing. I find it the most rewarding job I've ever had.
Right. Well, yeah, because you could make such a difference in someone's life, because
Absolutely.
if they're just wallowing in grit, well, I suppose if you're saying the best time is after a year, hopefully they're not so
Roughly,
down.
yeah.
So
I mean,
that makes sense. If they're in a lower frequency,
yes,
it's not going to be so easy for you to read them.
Yes, if they're, I mean, I mean, it depends. I mean, some readings go really, really well, some don't. It's like anything. I mean, any job that you have, anything that you do. I mean, if you're a chef, sometimes your food goes out better than other times. It's anything you want to do. Any job that you have good ones and you have bad ones. But I mean, the most important thing is that you do your best for every client. I always give 110% to every client. I can't do any less. I mean, I do everything I possibly can for everybody, and that's my role. I mean, I can't do any more. I have to do what I do, and it's giving everyone that confidence in themselves. I mean, I get a lot of people as well. I do work with the tarot. I do work with life guidance and what goes on around people. I mean, throughout their lives, and I try and guide them through difficult times. That I love as well. I mean, mediumship, tarot, spiritual assessment, anything like that, I give to my clients. I mean, it's giving everyone, it's seeing the clients that you have in front of you, it's seeing the way that they change in themselves. It's finding out who, a lot of it as well, it's finding out who you really are. I mean, a lot of people don't realize just how gifted they are, not necessarily spiritually, but anything artistically, anything they have, they don't always see it. And that's another one of my roles that I do, another one of my parts of the job, is to give people that uplift in who they actually are as a person. You know, they don't always have that, and a lot of people, don't value themselves like they should do.
Yeah, well, it goes back to, we have been conditioned throughout life to not trust our own intuition,
Exactly.
to actually give our power away from a very young age, even down to, you go and see the careers teacher to make a decision on what you want to do. No, nobody knows what you want to do other than you.
Exactly.
But
and life is pretty tough. Yeah. Life, I mean, particularly these days, I mean, it is very, very hard on everyone, particularly young people. And that's why you see such a rise in mental health problems. I mean, everyone's judged now. I mean, particularly young people, I mean, it's just so tough. I mean, you've got to be, everything's on social media now. You've always got to look a certain way. You've always got to sound a certain way. You've always got to be in with the crowd. And it doesn't do anybody any favors at all. And that's what I see a lot in younger people, younger clients. I do get 18-year-old as above. I don't read for anybody below 18 because I think it's too young. But I mean, I do get a lot of people that are going through that stage in their life. They're going to uni, they're going to college, and they're struggling to fit in. And it's because of the way that life is at the moment. It's very, very tough. The world is tough. I mean, particularly what we're going through at the moment with money issue, with the economy and everything else. I mean, it's getting everyone in that state as well.
Yeah, well, you've got to choose to make a decision, and yes, don't want. Why does anybody want to fit in? I mean,
Exactly.
I'm looking pretty plain today, but I still refuse to it with my pink and purple braids normally, and I'm 51 years old. And I was told when I was 30 by we were living in Portugal, and went into a cafe once, and the Portuguese guy went, "Aren't you too old to have hair like that?" And I was like,
quite offended, I bet, by that.
I was horrified. I took them out, Steve. I took them out. And 20 years later, they're back in. And, okay, they're not right in now. I'm having a break, but they will be back in. And I wouldn't take that anymore. If there was a lesson that I could give my younger self, or anybody who's younger, is everybody else's opinion of you is none of your business.
Mhm.
Don't let it affect you.
Of course.
Because it shouldn't. Like, who are these people? Like, I didn't know
Exactly.
that man. He had nothing to do with I probably never saw him again. So why I allowed his personal opinion of what I was doing, of how I was dressing, to affect me. Now, when I look back, I think that was crazy. Why did I allow it? But
Exactly.
we do. And like you say, with social media, oh yes, oh my goodness, it would have been awful if we had been brought up in that. And I do, obviously I use social media for my whole business. It's got its great points, but yes, with the youngsters, I think it can be horrific. And you're right, and they do need help. And I suppose what I'm getting from you is that really, I mean, I think it's brilliant that this is growing. I feel that this is a growing industry, really, because it's getting people to go inside and trust their own intuition, because their intuition knows best. And sometimes because they haven't trusted it, they need you to almost show them. But it's still coming, it's still them, isn't it?
Exactly. I mean, I never fitted in at school, college, anything. I always felt like I was the odd one out. But it's great. I mean, I mean, as you get older with it, as well as you get older, I mean, you realise that, it's fine to be who you are, and it's better to be who you are. You can't try and be somebody that you're not.
Yeah.
And, particularly with what I do, I mean, it's very hard to describe to some people how I do. I mean, they think you're mad. And I mean, the thing is as well with social media, going back to that, I mean, I have had some horrific abuse from people online. I mean, but I don't let it get the better of me. I just block them and I delete the comments. It doesn't bother me now. I mean, some of it was really, I mean, if someone was mentally unstable, somebody had a lot of, if someone wasn't well, it would affect them, I mean, to the brink, that they may take, do something silly. And that's the thing that you get now. I mean, the abuse you get online, I mean, I can take it, doesn't bother me. I just block them and I've delete the comments. But if there was anybody vulnerable like that, I mean, that's the way of the world now. Social media isn't kind to a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, we need to teach resilience as well. Yes. Need to teach resilience, and it all comes from inner confidence. So they do need help. So with you, obviously, so even with the tarot, I mean, how does that work in an online setting? I mean, I do get it. Obviously everything's frequency. I mean, the reason we're connecting today is through frequency, right?
Exactly.
So I get that there shouldn't be any issue with distance, but how do they work?
Well, I mean, I'm international, so I can only work online. I can only work over the phone, WhatsApp, Zoom, FaceTime. There is no difference. I mean, with the tarot, I mean, you just tune into someone. I mean, it's like me talking to you. I can give you a tarot reading now if I wanted to. I mean, you just shuffle the cards, you put the energy into. The thing is, your guides work with you. Your guides are with you all the time. Spirit. I mean, I get this all the time from people. What are you giving in-person readings? How does it work in person? How does it work online? Isn't it better in person? No. I mean, I actually much prefer. I mean, nothing personal, but I actually prefer not seeing the client in front of me, so I don't make assumptions as to who they are. I don't see them. I don't see their facial expressions. I can't cold read somebody. People think you're cold reading them by looking at them. I love seeing people face to face as well, but I can't do that at the moment because of where I live and one thing and another. And actually, if I wanted to get a hire a room or something like that, it would cost a lot more. I had to put the price up. So I much prefer it online and on Zoom or on the phone. It's no different than in person. It really, I mean, you just tune into someone. It's you. I mean, as I say, use your guides. Anything really comes through. Your guides are what give you that. What give you that. What's the word? Trust, or they give you the words to use. They give you that feeling that working psychically, your guides are what work with you. What guides give you all the information. The reading comes from your guides. It doesn't really come from me. I'm the vessel that they use. So working like in this sort of setting, I mean, if I was doing a mediumship session, for example, I have them here. They come to where I am. They stand with me. I don't need someone in front of me. I really don't need that. And I'm actually much more confident in working with people on Zoom or on the phone as opposed to in person. I can do it in person, of course. I mean, I've done many events. I've done many in-person readings, even being at the college and one thing and another. But I mean, I'm much more in my comfort zone if I'm working on Zoom or online or on the phone. A lot of people don't like that, but I always assure them that it's just as good as it is in person. And a lot of people have actually said to me, "Oh, I'll give it a go," and it's worked perfectly. And they actually become much more get much more of an understanding of how it does work.
I can imagine that actually it might be a truer reading just on the phone, because like you said, otherwise you could get in the way.
Exactly. And the thing is as well, it's a three-way, it works with the medium, the spirit world, and the physical world yourself, for example, works with the spirit world and myself. So it's a three-way communication. The person has to be very open, the person has to be very accepting of the reading to make the connection, say yes or no. I mean, you have to have, I mean, I don't ask for anyone to give me any information prior or anything at all. It will ruin the reading. I mean, it will ruin it completely. I always ask that they just be open with me, that they say yes or no, not sure. To the questions that I give, you have to have some voice, you know, you have to have that energy. It builds the energy up as well. But I mean, I much prefer, you know, as I said, not seeing someone, I mean, even being blindfolded, for example, and just feeling the energy around me, feeling who's coming through. I mean, I find it much more easier to work that way. And that way, I mean, you can reach out to people all around the world. They don't have to travel as well. But if they're living a long way away from you, it's very, you know, expensive for people to travel these days as well. Trains, fuel's expensive, everything you can imagine. And, you know, you could be in the comfort of your own home. And sometimes people don't like to travel as well. So it works out well for them. And I mean, you could be in the United States, I can be in London, someone can be in Japan, for example, and you can, you know, it just works out a lot better, I think. And it's really, I mean, I've got clients now in the USA, in New Zealand, I've built up a client basis there. I've had clients from, I mean, someone recently, I had someone from, I think it was Kuwait or Bahrain, somewhere like that. So I'm getting around quite a bit compared to what I thought I would. I'm actually getting my name out around the world, which I'm really, really enjoying.
And what would you say is the number one benefit? What do your clients get from a reading?
It is feeling much better about yourself. It is, I always say, readings always have to finish on a positive. You have to finish a reading on a positive. There's nothing negative that comes from spirit. I mean, things in life, I always say, life is what you make it. And there's always a positive in a negative. Things are put in our way things are sent to try us. I mean, if you have an obstacle in your way, you just have to find a way around it. It may take longer than what you hoped, but the main thing is what you learn throughout life. And what I really want everyone to get a reading, what everyone had, what's the word I want to use? What I really want everyone to leave when they've had a reading with me, when they've had that connection with the loved ones, had that tarot reading, whatever I want them to leave feeling much more uplifted in themselves, much more confident. You know, it's spiritual uplift. It's a spiritual growth within them. It's to realise that they're actually, because a lot of people do come to me that are quite down and, you know, don't believe in themselves. It's having that kind of uplift, that kind of light at the end of the tunnel that everyone needs. That's what it's all about. There's nothing you should never ever go to a meeting. I get very annoyed when I've heard some horrible stories that people have told me, clients that have told me they've been to mediums and they've said, "Oh, this person's really angry with you," or "You're really, really, you know, you're terrible at this, you're terrible at that." That's nothing what it's about. You do get that a lot with people. I mean, there are charlatans out there, but there are a lot of people, a lot of mediums that should be doing it. And they say some horrible.
Well, that goes back to I always thought that it would only be positive because it's spirit.
The thing is, as well, this is someone's life that you're dealing with. This is someone's well-being, and you have to be very, very careful what you tell people. I mean, if you know negative things do come up, but the thing is, it's finding positives out of it. I mean, some people do have those low parts in life, but we always get our way out of it. We always find a way out of it, and that way, you know, spirituality is always about being confident, being positive. And I mean, you get yourself involved with spiritualist circles, spiritualist churches, development circles, you know, spiritual groups. I mean, you meet the most incredible people that look after each other. I mean, they look out, you know, if you've got any problems, they help you out any way they possibly can. I mean, it really is a privilege to work with these people. It really is. When I've worked at events, when I've been at the college, when I've been in circles, even with clients, some client bases that are like-minded, it is the most gifted thing I've ever been to, you know, ever experienced in spirituality. It's people that really give you, you know, feedback, and they just help you. Because
Awesome.
I need help as well at times. We're not all perfect.
Yeah, don't we all? Don't we all? So, to anybody out there who would, if they're interested in getting a reading or getting in contact with you, how do they get in contact with you?
Well, I've got a website, www.steverazell.com. I'm also on WhatsApp, emails. I think you've got it in my bio, if I'm right.
Yeah,
All the
just
information
if they're listening.
Best way to get in touch with me, on my website, I've got all the contact details, my mobile numbers on there. WhatsApp, it connects to WhatsApp as well. I've got my email on there as well. Feel free to phone me if you need to phone me and have a chat with me. I do often get that as well with people. They don't know what to expect from me. And I always say, have a chat with me beforehand if you feel you need to. Text me, WhatsApp me, emails, ask as many questions as you like. Awesome. And I'm very flexible with my times. Even on the day, sometimes I may have bookings on the day, but I can normally fit people in. I always manage to squeeze. On my website, it does show you when. I do have a booking system on my website as well, which tells you, I give half an hour readings, 1 hour readings, and half an hour readings. It has it all on there. But if you can't find a date or a time that suits you, then do get in touch with me, and I can normally fit people in, even on the day.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. So if you'd like a reading, get in touch with Steve.
Thank you very much, Karen, and thank you everyone for listening.